Hello, welcome to the seventh conversation in my What Does Nature Mean to You series. When I started this last week, I don't think I realised that I'd be doing so many. I've now got, or had one every night this week, and have some wonderful guests lined up for every night next week as well, and some more along the way throughout November. So feeling very grateful and surprised. So yes, this is number 7 in the series. So we've had some fantastic people, authors, activists, wellbeing practitioners, and I've got more of those over the next couple of weeks. Athletes, I think who else? So many people, and I've normally got a list in front of me, so I can tell you more, but I've forgotten to put it by me, so I won't. Anyway, tonight I have Charlotte Jane Kessler joining me, who is a holistic life coach, and if all goes well, she should be a minute now. I know it's Charlotte's first live, and sometimes these things don't always go as smoothly, but fingers crossed, I think she's joining. Hello.
Hi, Ruth. Hi.
Yay, it worked.
I'm on.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, pleasure. I was just going to try and introduce you, but actually you do so many things. Perhaps you could introduce yourself and tell us what it is that you do.
Okay. Well, today I was painting. I'm painting a commission, so I'm an artist. My background is art psychotherapy. So I used to work for Mind. I used to run art therapy projects, and I used to work with drug addiction as well. So I was an art therapist in drug addiction, and I did a bit of drugs awareness counselling and things like that. And then last year I trained as a holistic life coach. Slash body mind practitioner. So wellness, well-being, therapy, and therapeutic art.
Fantastic. And also a keen forager.
Yes, poco a poco. I have eaten this year. I have actually eaten 3 foraged mushrooms, which is just so exciting.
Yeah. How did they taste?
Lovely, delicious. Don't ask me what they were called, but I knew that they were safe.
Good.
I double checked. So
I went on a mushroom foraging course a couple of years ago in Wales, and had this wonderful collection afterwards, and very much enjoyed them. But I've just never been able to replicate it myself, knowing that it was okay. So I think I need to do a bit more practicing. So maybe we'll have to meet up at some point in the future. You can teach
that
me.
Would be amazing. I would definitely love to do more. And I mean, foraging can be as simple as blackberry picking, can't it? And then you just sort of get a little bit more adventurous. I've been delving into the world of plants in the last couple of years, because I went to a festival and I went to a herbal workshop, and this guy was teaching people how to make plantain balm.
Wow.
And it was just so, I just realized it was like I sat there, age sort of 42, thinking, why am I 42 and only sitting in this now, learning this now? Because it feels like I should have been learning it all my life. There's so many easy things you can do with plants to make balms and stuff for cuts and stings and things like that. So it's really inspiring. There's so much to learn.
It's almost like we're relearning all these things that we probably would have known years ago, and we're having to all relearn it now, really, or hopefully.
Yeah. More and more people are, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah. There seems to be a big shift, and I wonder if that's, not just what some of the things we've talked about I've been chatting about in my previous chats here with this series, But as things are getting harder and harder, perhaps, or perceived to be harder and harder and challenging the world, we're seeking the things that actually connect us again, perhaps. But I'm jumping ahead. Let me go. Let me go into the first question that I've been asking everyone, which is, what is your earliest memory of connecting to nature in some way?
Two came to mind, and both of them still live within me now. So the first one was when I was about, I think I must have been like 6 or 7, and I just have this very vivid memory of going outside in the garden quite early in the morning, and there was dew on the grass, and I just remember feeling the dew on my toes and feeling the grass in between my toes, and just feeling like it was like an existential kind of, I don't know, it was just such a powerful thing, and I remember it so vividly, and it felt very sort of like divine, you know, like I was just so awestruck by the dew and the sense of it on my feet. And I think that's the first memory. And then the second one has to be, I basically lived in a willow tree at the bottom of the garden because I was always outside in this tree, climbing it, swinging out of it, climbing it, jumping out of it. And it was a haven really for me. It was definitely a place to escape. Parents who were in a difficult marriage, you know, I didn't like being in the house with that a lot, and so nature really was a refuge for me as a child. And I lived in a village in Lincolnshire, you know, it was like, so I had easy access to nature and fields and stuff like that, even though it's a lot of agricultural land, you know, the back garden backed onto fields, so I could get lost in nature. And so I did quite a lot because I didn't really like humans very much. And the adulting thing all seemed a little bit, I'm not sure about that. I'm going to go and sit on my willow tree and play. So I used to spend a lot of time.
Yeah, that word
really
of a
the
refuge.
boys that played with her. Oh, the refuge. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Oh yeah, sorry. I think we've got a tiny bit of a delay then. I realised I interrupted you.
Oh no, I was just saying. It was always the boys that would come and play with me. I did have a couple of girlfriends who were, but they, you know, they just weren't as kind of like, I don't know, tomboyish. And I remember trying to play with dolls once around at my friend's house, and within about an hour, I was like, "This is so boring. What are you supposed to like put a t-shirt on a Cindy doll? Nah, let's go and catch the stickleback in the beck, and let's go and climb the tree." You know. Yeah.
Oh, well, that kind of leads me, I suppose, to the second question then, because you've kind of touched upon it, I suppose, in some ways. But what does nature mean to you? But then, as a second part of that question, how has that changed during this year?
Nature means to me so many different things. It's almost impossible to, because it's a rabbit hole. It's a rabbit hole. And nature means to me is everything actually. It's like my church. And I feel such a part of nature that actually for a long time it was quite a source of sadness for me, because I felt very upset about how we lived on the planet and how we treated the planet, and I didn't know what to do with those feelings. And so, I mean, when I moved down to London when I was 17, I used to walk through Highgate Woods on my way to Highgate Tube to go to work, and I would enter the forest, I would enter the woods, and I would just cry all the way to the end of the woods, and then get out the other end and dry my, and it'd be like, right, get back into the rat, get to work and be in the rat race. So um, nature, you know, nature brings up a lot of things in me. It's like one minute there's awe and wonder. It takes me beyond myself. Um, it makes me feel small and insignificant, which is humbling to my ego. But it also makes me feel expansive and of the divine, and so it's like completely paradoxical, like what nature is and means. And what else does nature mean to me? It means adventure and excitement, and um, it's a place to be in the unknown. I think, like, so much of our society is like, you need to know, what you're going to do when you grow up. You need to know what you're going to do in the next hour. Everything's sort of in this confinement of needing to know, and nature is this world of unknown. There are known elements, obviously, and but there's always an element of surprise or um, the unexpected, and so it opens up curiosity. So for me, it means connecting to my heart. Um, it grounds me. It lifts me up. Um, it means it's life, isn't it? Just it's all the good stuff.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it strikes me sort of listening to that. As you said, it's those sort of that paradoxical and perhaps those extremes, and it's that joy and awe, but also perhaps some, I know, despair or fear or feeling towards how we're living on this planet, as you said. And even this is a discussion I've had quite a lot with actually one of my teachers, that nature is all of those things, and it isn't all just beauty and wonder and awe. Actually, it's dirt and decay and death, and it's everything,
Yeah.
which is part of our existence as well. But again, perhaps something that we can become quite detached to, and as you say, then only hold on to the things we know and can control and order.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I found out recently that in like in certain tribal cultures, and certainly in the Mayan culture, they used to have little shrines by composts, and I really want to make one, because it's, there's that thing of I think the Buddhists, they also meditate on impermanence, don't you? And it's that there's that idea that, you know if you come across, something that's decomposing, actually look at it, actually be with those feelings of, oh God, you know because that impermanence, it is really good for us, and we get disconnected from death, don't we, and decomposition, like you say. But I've been thinking it'd be a really lovely thing to do, make a shrine and put it on the compost, because the compost, although the death and decay uh, is the death and decay, it's the very thing that brings the life again. We put that on our garden, on our vegetables, and it's that the cycle, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, so many people don't like winter, but I love to lean into I guess the wisdom of winter, of how things are in nature, because although visually we don't have a lot to see, everything's kind of let go and dying down, but there's so much going on underneath, and it's like that gestation period of, the baby in the womb. Nature's busy doing all the things it needs to do underground, ready to come up for spring. And I use that quite a lot with my women's group and things like that, that we can't always be in this full blossom kind of linear reality of everything's blossoming and on show. We need to trust the winter of our own inner season and come into the darkness.
Yeah, and
So,
conserve that energy for a while. And um, that's something that I think we all in society now are trying to be busy all the time and achieve everything and do everything. And particularly, you mentioned about your women's groups. I know that can be something that a lot of women feel, but I'm sure men too, of having to be everything for everyone and not actually giving ourselves permission to stop and rest. And yet, pretty much everything in nature takes time to stop and rest to conserve energy. And as you were saying, there's probably quite a lot that we can learn from that. But um, I wonder whether then anything in this year in particular, whether
yeah,
that's changed anything or deepened anything or sent any new lessons from nature for you, or how you've interacted with nature, if that's been different this year.
I've interacted definitely more with it. And I think that for me personally, I've experienced a real relief for nature. I just feel like there's been this massive sigh. You know, for a start, the first thing I noticed was the no cars meant that you heard a lot more birds. And so it made me listen more. And also I noticed that when I went for walks, that birds were coming quite close. Like I was picking hawthorn flowers to put into hawthorn brandy, but to put into the brandy to make hawthorn brandy. And I was picking these hawthorns, and then these two goldfish just landed, like, I mean, like 2 lengths of my arm away. And they were just looking at me, and I was just looking at them. And I was thinking, because normally goldfinch are quite skittish and they're off. And they came so close and they were watching me. And I just felt so honoured that they were there. And I've seen 2 kingfishers close to me, which I didn't see a kingfisher until I was in my 40s. So for me, the lockdown has brought me closer to my immediate surroundings, and I feel like I've been encouraged to just step out my front door and take time and go for a walk and find new little places. Whereas I think before, because I was able to jump in the car, I'd always kind of want to go somewhere, go to that wood, or to Clumber Park, and so it simplified things. In that it's like you can only just walk down the road, or you can only just walk that way, or and I've actually really quite liked that.
With
Yeah.
that, as we're kind of here in the UK in the second lockdown, and moving into winter as well, and I guess some unknown as to what challenges that may bring as a current situation too. My third and final question was, what advice might you have for others during this time, connecting to nature, or general advice that you could share, perhaps?
So when you typed this question to me before, I immediately thought about how important it is to prioritize nature, to prioritize our time outside, say, for example, because obviously we don't all have nature around us, or access to a lot of nature. But so when I was painting, I used to have a studio on Thames, the water place, and near Woolwich, and I was painting a lot, and I was getting a repetitive strain in my shoulder, and I would never let myself like go swimming, or well, I did used to, but I didn't prioritize my health. So it was always like, I've got to go to work, I've got to go and do that, I've got to go and do that. And when I damaged my shoulder, I made the swimming part of my working day. And I was thinking about this question. I was thinking that would be my best advice, that if people are working from home, or they're struggling to make time to go for a walk, or look out the window at how the breeze is moving the branch in the tree, or however it is that someone can connect with nature, is to make the time. Because if you make it part of your working day, you don't feel guilty, if because you can't work if you haven't got good health, or mental health either. So you know to give yourself that mental health, that physical bit of exercise, that time in nature, actually makes you better at work. So it's part of your working schedule. And that's how I used to start swimming. I used to go swimming before I went to the studio, because I started work as soon as I got into that swimming pool. That's how I saw it. It's like, I'm in the swimming pool swimming to look after my shoulder so that I can work. So therefore this is work. And it kind of stopped my monkey mind going, you should be working right now. It's like, well, I am working, I'm swimming to work, So if people can consider time in nature actually as an integral part of their work schedule, and keeping mentally and physically healthy, we don't perhaps have so much guilt. Maybe that's my personal story about being a bit of a workaholic, but I think there's a lot of us perhaps feel like that.
Definitely.
And we don't take time, we don't give ourselves the time. But I think just 25 minutes outside in nature makes us better workers.
Absolutely. It's funny, it's reminding me of a conversation I had on a podcast with a couple of yoga and mindfulness teachers. It's a lovely lady from Leigh-on-Sea, Dawn Lister, who was talking about when she was coaching some sort of busy executives up in the city of London, who really were struggling and not getting any time for themselves. That it got to the point where they had to sort of diarise that, or get even their PA or secretary to diarise that time to themselves, where there were no meetings, no calls, whatever. And what they did with that time was up to them, but that was the only way to get them to spend some time, some alone time, and some calm time. And even myself, I guide the forest bathing sessions. When I'm not doing that, I've had to change and adapt what other work I was doing, and now a lot of that's computer based at home, and sometimes sort of sat waiting in front of my laptop. And for the last couple of weeks, as I've been trying to juggle and get that right, I've been a bit of a slave to that, if I'm honest. And I've realised, as I've kind of had to change that again, when I've put time aside and taken myself off for a walk to the woods, luckily live right by a woods, the difference that has made. But absolutely was going through what you were saying. I felt guilty putting that time aside and not taking work for those couple of hours. And it's the very thing that I know makes me feel better, and that I'm often guiding other people to do. So I think you're right. We all need those reminders, and giving ourselves permissions. And that might be by, as you say, actually scheduling it in.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, there's something around, nature brings patience, doesn't it? She slows us down. She brings us into our body. We move the energy from here down into the body. It's restorative. It increases our sense of vitality and groundedness. And I think the thing about nature is that you'll never waste any time. There's no time wasted. Whereas had you stayed at the computer to go, I'm going to just get that extra 20 minutes in, you'll end up writing the paragraph 3 times and still deleting it and starting again. So you can waste plenty more time at the computer. But I think if we can just break that thing, it's like, laptop lid down, 20 minutes, go outside, go for a walk. And it's never time wasted. I think that's the thing to remember. It's never time wasted. There's always something to see, something to feel, something to be reminded of, and it makes us more spacious to then come back and you know, come back to the family home, be a better mum, or be a better sister, or, you know, be a better friend, or be a better worker.
I love that. I feel like that's my biggest takeaway from this conversation is time in nature is never time wasted. I think that's a lovely place to sort of end it, really. But before we completely wrap it up, is how do people find you? Where are you based, and what you do or what you offer, and if people are interested in getting in touch with you or anything else you want to share?
Well, does my name come up on this live feed?
It should do, yep. And I will I will share it on my feed as well and tag you in it and everything too. Yeah.
So it's a really long name because Charlotte's got 9 letters, and then it's Jane Kessler. But if you just Google my name, Charlotte Jane Kessler, you'll find on my website my offerings, virtual and in person when they eventually come back to being in person, and my art. My art is nature is my muse completely. She has been my muse for years, and remains my muse. So if you like bees and bumblebees and trees and, you know, whimsical figures in forests, then you might like my art. And yeah, just DM me if anybody wants to ask me anything. I'm here, and if I'm not here, it's because I'm having a walk in the woods and I'm not taking my phone.
Oh, thank you, Charlotte. Yeah, I'll put all the
much.
links to your Instagram page, and anyone's interested in seeing Charlotte's art as well. It's all well, there's lots of examples on her beautiful pictures on her Instagram. So thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you so much, Ruth.
Oh, pleasure.
It's an absolute pleasure.
I can't wait till we one day can meet somewhere in a woods.
Yeah. Yes, I do believe that I think Alison and I will be coming to visit you at some point.
I think that's the plan.
I look forward to that.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me tonight. Thank you. Pleasure. Bye.
Bye.
And I will just add at the end of this then, so thank you again to Charlotte. Thank you everyone watching this on Catch Up. Tomorrow night I have the lovely Indy, who is a fantastic young RSPB ambassador, nature lover, amazing bird watcher. So join me 8:30 p.m. UK time Saturday night. Thank you.